Before we get started, here are 3 tools to grow your business from my sponsors, starting with Shopify. Do you have an idea for an online store and need an easy way to get started? Or do you have an online store already and want to finally grow your sales? With Shopify, you'll set up your store in minutes, you'll get professional themes to customize your store, you'll even get a mobile app to manage your store from anywhere. Check out Shopify.com. And when you need something designed, where do you go? Well, for a logo, a t-shirt, a website, whatever, I recommend 99designs.com, the company that recently won a People's Voice Award at the Webbies. Because when you go to 99 Designs and describe what you need, designers from all over the world will work and create custom designs just for you. You'll give them all feedback and you'll get even more designs. When you're happy, you only pay for the designs you want. I've used 99 Designs, and so has Timothy Ferris and Adidas and Shopify and TiVo and many other Mixergy interviewees and viewers. Check out 99 Designs the next time you need anything designed. Finally, what happens when customers call you? With Grasshopper, you have complete control of the experience you give your callers. You can set up multiple extensions, you can adjust voicemail greetings based on time of day, you can have your voicemail transcribed and sent to you. It's all up to you. Grasshopper.com. Here's a program. Hey everyone, it's Andrew Warner, founder of Mixergy.com, home of the ambitious upstart. Today I've got with me a guy who took his company from idea to investment to sale within 3 years. His name is Andy Smith. Some of you have seen him in the news recently. He is the co-founder of DailyBurn, the fitness social network that offers detailed tracking and online accountability and motivation. Welcome, Andy. Congratulations on the sale.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Who'd you sell the company to?
So we are now part of MindSpark, which is wholly owned by IAC, Interactive Corp.
And Interactive Corp owns Evite, CitySearch, and the division that bought you, MindSpark, owns i1 and a whole bunch of other brands.
Yep, that's right. They own a lot of different companies, Match.com and different sites as well. So
College Humor, who's been on here.
Yeah.
So as we said before the interview, it's not going to be about what happens after the sale. It's probably not going to be about much around the sale, this interview, because my sense is that you can't say much about it, and I think it's too early to dive into what's going to happen after the sale.
Yep.
So we'll talk a little bit about that, but mostly I want to know how you got here. How'd you take an idea from just a thought in your head, make it into a business that hundreds of thousands of people have interacted with and created accounts on, got it funded, got incredible advisors like Tim Ferriss, and then why'd you sell?
Yeah.
So first of all, why don't we start with this? You already had a business when you took it to TechStars, the mentorship-based seed fund. Why'd you take it to TechStars? Why'd you bother working with them?
Yeah, we were still pretty immature as a company. We had, I think at the time we came into TechStars, we had tens of thousands of users, maybe 20,000, 30,000 users.
I see 35,000 users and 1.2 million page views at the time.
Yeah, that's about right. And yes, you know the business better than me, but we wanted mentorship, right? So for us, there's 2 founders, myself and Steven Blankenship, and we were pretty much holed up in a room coding out Jiminy, and we're here in Huntsville, Alabama, which is where I am now. And really for us, we wanted some sort of business mentorship from people in the internet, commercial internet space, where that isn't readily available here. So there's a lot of small businesses here in this area. Lots of them are government contracting. That's kind of the area I came out of. But we just really wanted to have some sort of guidance and mentorship, and that's why we wanted to go to TechStars. In fact, we applied to TechStars the first year before we started the company in 2007 and didn't get in. But we still decided to start the business anyway. And so even though we were a little bit further along, in 2008, we said we saw the value of it and still decided to join in with that. So.
Okay, and Sammy and Pedro in the audience are talking about this, so I'll explain. Jiminy was the original name of the company. You guys switched your name to DailyBurn about 2 years into the business.
That's right.
Where did the idea come from?
Well, we wanted to do something in the commercial internet. We wanted to work direct with consumers. Steven and I had a couple of different ideas. The one that made the most sense for us was in the workout space. So Jiminy, we both like fitness. I've been working out and training for a long time, and we thought that we couldn't find a site to track our workouts well. There were sites like Trainio that had just come out, but it was really about not enough. We felt not enough information on tracking a workout to be actually effective for you. So you want to track what kind of weight reps you're doing, what kind of cardiovascular training you're doing, not just how did you feel about your workout type thing. So we really saw the need for a workout tracking tool, and also social networking was all the rage, and so we wanted to have a social spin on it too, which we think makes a lot of sense. You want to have people to motivate you and keep you accountable. So it really started out as a workout tracking tool with some social features, and then grew from there to what it is today.
How much did it cost you to launch the first version?
Not much. I mean, I think we both put in like $1,500 and to the company, and it's basically lived off savings, right? So we had a small Slicehost account, and that's it. Just two guys. We had our own computer, so really no funding to get started. Just we did take the leap and quit our other jobs to work on it full time. I'm a real big believer in that you can't do things on the side, that you really need to take the leap, and if you're able to, go all in and dedicate your time and your working hours toward your company instead of trying to do it on the side. But so that's it. That's what it took for us.
You really worked how many hours a day that you couldn't have taken a side job?
I don't think so. We really put in a lot of hours.
How many?
I don't know. I mean, from 12, 15 hours a day. I mean, I have a family, so I didn't totally neglect my family, but every other hour I was pretty much working. And it took us about 4 or 5 months, I guess, to get it ready to go for launch. Before we show any revenue, we didn't get any revenue until January of '08, right? So.
Okay, and August of '08 is when you got the funding from TechStars.
Right.
When you told you have a family, what is your family? You have a wife and child, or?
Yeah, 3 kids.
Three kids?
3 kids.
Dude,
yeah.
how old are you?
I'm 30, but I'm from the South, so we get married young here, and I'm about to have my 10-year anniversary. So
Get out of here!
It's just how we roll down here.
Wow.
Yeah, actually.
So when you told your wife, you had kids, you had a wife, you're I guess 7 years into your marriage. When you said, "I'm quitting my job," what was her reaction?
I've always said she's really great, and she's always supported my dreams, and I've done this before. So actually, this is not the worst story. Was 3 years before that when I started the first company, and we had negative money in the bank and a brand new newborn, starting a new business. So I didn't burn her that time, and I think she kind of grew a little bit more confident that I wasn't crazy starting these businesses, and so we did decent from the first startup, and this one, whatever is kind of like her reaction. So,
by the way, my shock is because I've seen your picture online. I've read about you online for a long time now, and you always seem to me like a 22-year-old. Now, I saw on your Twitter profile that you said that it's unreal. I assumed you were right in college. You were building this. I saw on your Twitter profile that you call yourself a serial entrepreneur. I went to LinkedIn to try to find out a little bit about what you've done in the past, and I couldn't really find out much there or anywhere else in my research. Can you tell me about this previous company that that you quit your job for with a baby?
Yeah. So I came out of college. Really was in the computer security space. That's what I thought I wanted to do. So coming out of Purdue, I came back home to Alabama. We had a newborn, and all the grandparents are here. So we decided to come home and quickly got into the government contracting space, and found out very quickly I didn't like working for a big contractor. So I started a company with a coworker that did basically government contracting. We did computer security research and tools, primarily here for missile defense. So totally different world, right? And that one was primarily funded through government SBIR grants, which are ways for they provide 6-month 100K grants, and then if you do well on those and they like your product, then they'll give you another $750 to $1 million to kind of build it out for a couple of years. And so we won a lot of those awards and were able to build the company that way. did that for a couple years, and just kind of got the bug to start something new again. We had 15 people, and it just wasn't too fun. We just, like I said, we wanted to get in the consumer space, and so.
What'd you do with that business?
So that business is still barely going. I left. Lots of people left after I did. Steven actually worked with me at that company, so we came out of there. But it's kind of fizzled out since we left.
Okay, and Steven is Steven Blankenship, the co-founder of DailyBurn.
That's right.
Okay, so what did that first version look like that you launched 4 to 5 months after you got started?
It was pretty simple. I mean, it was, it doesn't look near as good as the site we have now, but we still always thought that we had a pretty good design and really kind of focused in on the usability, the user experience. So, we thought that the first design was very simple workout tracking with social features. So you had the ability to create workouts, track workouts, share them with others, and you had the ability to create groups and what we called I think we called them gym buddies back then, which is a pretty terrible name, but it was basically accountability partners, and that was it. So we launched, and people, we got a little bit of coverage. I remember Mashable doing a story right when we launched, and a couple other sites, and started. We did the whole the beta invite thing and to kind of get the buzz and don't let people in, and that worked pretty well. But yeah, it was pretty simple site at first. The biggest thing that people wanted and kept, and we've been like, what we did was at the very beginning, we just had this little box down at the bottom that you could type in a comment, a feedback, and send it to us, and we would get it by email. Of course, there's a lot better ways of doing that now. But we would collect everybody's email feedback, and the biggest thing people wanted was nutrition tracking, the ability to track their foods. And they didn't want to use some of these other sites for nutrition and then having their workouts on the other side. They just wanted this kind of overall picture of their health and fitness. So that's where we moved the business, and actually now that's the most popular thing on our site. So food tracking, I think, is the best thing that we have. Our workouts are pretty good. We're releasing some new features this week. I think we're going to revamp a lot of that, make them even better. But if you kind of look at our transition, we've gone to more nutrition tracking, getting people to, I personally believe that nutrition is 80% of your fitness anyway, so I think that's a good thing to focus on if you're eating right. You can't outwork a bad diet. So, so it's kind of migrated towards fitness tracking. And you see Food Scanner too, right? The iPhone apps on food tracking are kind of a result of our focus towards that over the past 6-9 months.
All right, let's dig in deeper into this. So you had the beta box, the beta coming soon. Register for your free invite. You had that input box on your homepage before you launched anything.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
How many email addresses did you collect from that of people who wanted in when you launched?
I think we had around 1,000, if I had to guess. 1,000.
There's 1,000 people who not just knew about the site before it launched, but actually came in and gave you their email address. How did you get 1,000 people to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know. I think we had a lot of friends and people who helped spread the hype, and I guess commenting on I can't really tell you. I don't really quite remember how we got all that attention early, especially when we didn't have the product out. Yeah, it's a good question.
You had no blog posts written about it?
No.
Not at that point? You commented on other people's blogs in the fitness space?
Yeah, we probably did a little bit of that, asked for feedback. But yeah, off the top of my head, it's probably an important thing to know for the next round. But yeah, I don't know how we got that initial buzz. I do remember some of the first people signing up. Some TechCrunch people, email addresses you see coming in. So I guess it doesn't take too much to submit that you have a startup on some of these other smaller startup sites, and you can start getting people at least watching you to some degree.
On these, it got an anonymous guy in my audience is saying he knows it, he just doesn't want to share it, he doesn't want to give away that secret. Do you, in fact, Andy, know it and don't want anyone to know how you ended up with 1,000 people?
No, actually, I would share if I know. Yeah, no doubt. I really think we we commented on blogs, but it was, we submitted our site to different startup directories and things like that. And we just got our friends to check it out and kind of, we always have relied on word of mouth and kind of some press that we got from blogs. And that's kind of how it started. So, really to get 1,000 isn't that high. I wouldn't think it would be too hard to get that many because that was before we launched, but before we got any kind of coverage on some of these other blogs, maybe we had 500 or something like that. So,
okay, all right. It's not huge, but it's a nice start. It's a nice start to know that there are hundreds, if not 1,000 people who are waiting to see what you're going to launch. Let's take a couple of questions from the audience. Mickey D is asking, was it a business? Did you start it as a business or a passion?
I think it was both. To be honest, we thought there was a business there, and I don't think it was, we just started it because we loved it and it grew into a business. We wanted it to be a business from the beginning, but it was an area that I'm really passionate about and love to be in. So I think it was both.
Okay. Train Me is asking, do you use DailyBurn in your life, or is it just your biz? Yeah, he uses DailyBurn. You guys can see his profile up on there. You can see how much he's been working out and how much he's been using the site. What's your name on DailyBurn?
AB Smith is my name on there, and I use it primarily now for weight, body fat tracking, and personal metrics. I think one of the biggest advantages you see for DailyBurn users, for a new user, is just the awareness that you get when you type in all your food. And after you do that for a while, you start to know what foods to eat, and it's not as important to track, I think. But that's what I tend to see from the new users. Whoa, I had no idea that it had this many calories and this much fat or carbs in.
What was the responsibility breakdown between you and Steven? Who did what?
Both of us are technical backgrounds, so early on it was just, we share the development load and get the work done. So it was design, building the initial code, all that stuff was both of us.
Who designed it?
Both of us. Like the early ones. We have designers now, but the early versions were developed by us. We did everything, from managing the server to development and design. And then so we transitioned quite a bit. I moved into the CEO role, given that I'd done the business before. Steven is CTO now and is in charge of the technical side of things. They don't want me to mess with the code anymore because I'll get in there and mess something up and not have time to come back and fix it. So I pretty much keep hands off of the development now.
You each invested $1,500. Where did the $3,000 go?
It was just, we had an office that we got. We decided to not work out of our house. So there's an incubator here in Huntsville called BizTech. It's where I am now, actually, still, where we rented some space. So it just kind of covered our office space for a little while. Okay. And then we did raise a friends and family round before TechStars. I think we got 45, 50K there. And then TechStars gives you a little bit of money too. But we pretty much just drained our personal savings for the first year and a half or so until we got into the angel round.
The friends and family, did any of that go to salary or to living expenses beyond the business?
Yeah, I think we started paying ourselves $1,500 or $2,000 a month once we got that money in. So.
One of the benefits of being in Huntsville, Alabama, you wouldn't be able to get away with spending so little if you were in Northern California.
It's not enough to make it, but enough to ease the bleed a little bit. Right.
Okay, so when you launched, people were able to track their workouts. They were able to share their workouts. They were able to find accountability partners. When you say share their workouts, how are they able to share it at the time?
You just shared it with the whole community. So you could set a set of workout routines and then group them as a plan and then share it. So, and we got a lot. It was, last I checked, it's 25,000 shared workout plans that people created and shared. We've moved away from that somewhat, and we have training plans created by trainers now. But I think you can still do that, but that's kind of a more minor part of the site.
Okay, and accountability partners, that was an excuse to get people to tell their friends about the site. In addition to the benefit that the user got, you as a business were also looking for a benefit of bringing in their friends, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, of course, but I think the real goal there was if you work out with friends, or if your friends know that you're trying to do a workout or have a weight goal, that we wanted them to be positively influencing you. So there's this idea of positive peer pressure, where people know you're trying to lose weight, you're gonna be less likely to walk out of your office with a donut because people, hey, you're on a diet type thing, right? So we really wanted to play into the whole social motivation aspect. So yeah, I don't think it was primarily for invite your friends. Of course, we want to grow that way, but
How
it was
effective was that viral loop that you guys were creating through that?
it was okay. I mean, people inviting friends. We didn't put it as a higher. Some of the other sites at the time were putting it very high priority. Like you had to sign up and you had to get 5 friends with you to join up. When we never had it that level of priority. It certainly helped. I mean, we grew for a long time on people telling other people. We got some good blog press, and SEO was pretty good for us early on. Especially like a lot of the foods and workout plans and all that stuff. We made those public facing so people could find them and
I
things.
see. So when a user created a workout plan, he was sharing it publicly, which meant that Google also saw it and had another reason to send traffic to you.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so when you got to August, actually it was before August, when you applied to TechStars, did you buy any ads, or did you get to the tens of thousands of people just on viral and just on word of mouth?
Yeah, we've never really done. We've done very, very few ads. I mean, we've tested on Facebook and Google Ads a little bit, but I think over the lifetime of our company, we may have spent $5,000 on ads. We don't.
Really?
Yeah, we still don't buy ads at this point.
Sneeze, excuse me.
So, going into TechStars, it was still a very viral. I don't really like to use that word anymore, but very organic type
Why
growth.
don't you like using the word viral anymore?
I don't know. I feel like it gets overused. Same with synergy. I try not to I took that out of my vocabulary, because whenever anybody says synergy, I feel like they're full of it. So,
I talked to David Cohen here on Mixergy. He was a guest recently, and I asked him
Yeah.
what he was looking for in entrepreneurs that he backed, and essentially he said he wasn't really looking at the idea. He wasn't looking for them to have a company when he backed them. He was looking at the entrepreneur. What was it about you, do you think, and your partnership that drew him in?
Well, I think it stems, and he's the one to ask. But if I had to guess, the first year we applied, we made it, a certain level into the cut. We talked to him. We didn't make it because two things. First off, we had this idea that we're going to use a kiosk in gyms, and that would have been very expensive, and that didn't make a lot of sense. So that technology-wise, that was bad. But really, at that point, we were still working our other full-time job, and we weren't really. We had the idea, and we were trying to build it, but we didn't really have much. And I think what probably impressed them was the next year we come around and look, hey, we've been working on this for a year. We have paying customers. We have a real product. We believe in it. We believe in it so much that we've been working on it, with our personal savings. And I think that's what I think that shows the entrepreneur drive. And then, when we applied the next time, we made sure we went out and met with him in Boulder. We didn't wait for him to come to us. We really wanted to, show initiative, and I think that's important as an entrepreneur too, right?
Now, you saw him after you sent an application, right?
Yeah.
You did. Okay, so he saw your application. He liked it enough to invite you in for an interview. And his interviews actually, is that true? You sent him an application, and what was their response over at TechStars?
Yeah. So you get a phone interview, and then and then you make another kind of cut of, I don't know what they call it, but there's another line where we felt like we were pretty close to getting in, and we decided, all right, even though we didn't have a lot of money, we're going to fly out there and
Wow.
meet him and try to close the deal. So.
Is he the big decision maker in this process, or are there other people who you talk to?
I think he was the only one you had to talk to for our. I don't know how they've changed, but in 2008, he was the only one we had to talk to, and I still made the effort and talked to Brad and Andrew Hyde and some of the other people too. So I didn't know the process. I didn't know how they made the decision. So I wanted to talk to as many as I could. And so that's what we did.
Okay, so you get in the program, you're looking for mentorship. What's it like that first month?
It's intense. You get in, and I think it's a whirlwind because you've just moved there. I moved my whole family to Boulder for the summer, so just moving there was a whirlwind. And then I just remember the level of intensity picked up like a lot. I mean, we went from working hard to even harder. It felt like. I mean, just the pressure was on, but in a good way. It felt like you had to produce. You had to produce quickly. You start meeting a lot of people who give you feedback really quickly on your idea. So you're iterating on that. You're meeting with outside mentors and the TechStars teams, and you're interacting with the other teams in TechStars that are kind of shaping your ideas too. So it's the first month is really really intense. Figuring, I think he says he likes to break it up into like the first month you try to figure out what for sure you're going to do. The second month you're really doing it, and the third you're really trying to get ready to pitch investor day. And that's about how it was. We were a little bit different because we had what kind of our product was already. And we didn't really deviate from that. We added things while we were there, like community challenges. We were really exploring how we could partner with gyms and health clubs. So we're doing that kind of thing. But from some of the other companies that were just creating their idea, there's a little bit different feel, I think, for us. So.
I've heard in other programs that if you come in there with a project that's already up and running, you're going to have a big advantage over others who don't have anything when they start. And that advantage carries through right to the demo day where you're pitching investors. Do you agree with that?
I think so. And I remember we did, just because I was already out pitching investors before we came into TechStars, so I already had my deck, I had a demo, I had a product, and so when we were up there, it's kind of like 10 companies facing off. You're not really competitive, but you kind of are, right? It's the same investor pool, and so you get up there and you have your whole product and demo, and you're more polished. Is certainly a huge advantage. And then when you get to demo day with an active user base, and it can look like you have more traction than the other companies just based on the fact that you've been around longer. Because we can get up there and say we have 45,000 users or whatever we said at the end of at demo day, where the other companies had just coming out of beta. So there's this kind of feel where I think you can say Jiminy has more traction because they already have all these users. So I think I would agree with that statement, I think. And it does feel like TechStars is getting more mature companies coming in than previously before, at least with some sort of product already. But I may be wrong. That's just kind of my feel.
And now you guys are already grinding away 12 to 15 hours a day. Coming into TechStars, you're doing more what? How's it bringing out more out of you?
You got to move. It's just do more faster is kind of their mantra, and it's just the additional push. When you're by yourself, you're working hard, but you're kind of isolated. And when you're in a community of people who are all doing that, it's a lot easier to move faster. It just feels like there's just more pressure. And even though we're working a lot, before we had to even get more focused because we had certain deadlines to meet and all. We had presentations we had to make, and it just gets you more focused. So we're working harder, but I think just more focused work would probably be a key difference of how we felt while we were there.
What do you mean by focus?
Well, I mean, a lot of the meetings you have would be, like say we meet with David and we're talking about what we're doing, and a lot of it and a lot of the mentors you're talking to, you get the feeling of what you're doing that's kind of a waste. It's busy work. And so, these mentors can help you focus to some degree on what you should be working on, and kind of forget some of the tangential things. So I guess that would be part of the focus. But it's really just, you have 3 months to get to a point where you're ready to pitch to a big investor group. And I think that's, we before that, we never really had timelines. We always work hard, but there's no timeline to a certain goal. We're just trying to get features out as fast as we could. But here you're kind of on a timeline. You have to make things happen. So.
Here's
I
what I
guess.
liken it to in my head when I hear these stories. Tell me if this is true. When I run a marathon, I'm not really racing against other people at a marathon. I'm doing my own race. I know where I need to be, but having all those people around me makes me move a little bit faster because sometimes I'll find one or two of them and I'll kind of compete with them or run at their pace for a block or two, and then I'll find somebody else and run at his pace for a block or two. And that's what helps me move faster. Is that the same thing that happens when you're in an environment with other people who are starting their businesses and all making progress?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great analogy. Um, we would do updates or every couple weeks, and you feel like you can see the speed of what other teams are moving at, and it's that extra pressure that we need to move that fast or faster, right? So yeah, I think it's totally accurate.
Okay, so far we've been talking about everything great, 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 great. I've got an anonymous person in the audience who's saying, I want to hear more about the tough times. So let's
Yep.
spend a little bit of time on that. In that year, when you launched it, when you didn't get funding, when you were rejected by TechStars, in that 1 year of isolation, what was it like and how did you keep yourself going?
We had a lot of drive. I mean, I think we didn't get into TechStars, so we went to a local incubator, and so we made the most of that, right? We felt like it wasn't quite as good, but we could still get some mentorship, and it turns out it has really helped. Part of the money that we raised was local money during that angel round. So, I mean, it was hard, but I think we really believed in it, and when you start getting some users early, it there wasn't a lot of downtimes. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, certainly, but there and towards the end of when we weren't getting funding, and I was kind of coming to the end of where I'm really comfortable spending much more doing this, we were able to pull the angel round together. So that was probably a downtime, right? We were getting close to where we don't, and the economy tanked at the same time. It's like, is this thing we really should do? So we had a lot of ups and downs that way.
Are you talking about 2007 when you raised money, or are you talking about the 2009?
2008. So like really, through 2007 into 2008, we spent 5 months. We thought it would take about that long to build the initial product. So there's really no downtimes, right? We're moving forward hard. Yeah, we didn't get into TechStars, but we're in a new incubator. We let that go. We're going to work hard at it. And then we did get some initial good buzz, and then we got users. So once you start having some users and interacting with them, it seems like there wasn't a lot of bad times. I mean, it was hard to get growth, but it was mostly good. I don't have a lot of war stories on like how bad it was.
What about this? I found that when I worked with my brother, we were able to keep each other motivated. At times when I was frustrated, he'd be able to come in there and say, no, you're not being rational. Look, here's the real downside. It's not this big thing you imagine in your head. And here's the upside and why we're going to be able to get there. And vice versa. I was able to say, look, here's the big picture. Here's the big future that we're all fighting for. Having a partner helps that way. How did you and Steven interact in that way?
Yeah.
How did you keep each other motivated?
Yes, that's a good point. I mean, there is no way I would have done it if it was just me. I mean, there absolutely no way. So, Steve and I worked together, in the previous company. So we worked together pretty well, and we kind of knew that we both had a lot of work drive. I think what's really great about our partnership is he's kind of the more steady, I'll get all excited. Someone wants to buy us this week, and so we get it. And Steve's gonna, whatever. It's just kind of the steady, and then I'll be really down. He's still steady, So I think that helped me when I have the ups and downs, and so if he may have had some ups and downs too, and whether or not he thought it would work, but he's always a lot more steady about it. I wouldn't know, right? So hopefully I did the same for him with all my hype when I get excited about things. But yeah, I certainly think that a partner is essential. I couldn't have done it by myself. I really like the fact that we're both technical, so we didn't have like a business guy out there trying to do things that really didn't. You really don't need a business guy till a little bit later, right? You have to have the core product, I believe. We both technical, so we could get work done. So there was not this. There was never a time where I was trying to sell something that we didn't have, and all that kind of pressure because we could both build it. So I really liked how we set up early, having two technical founders. I think that worked really, really well for us.
Right, we talked to TechStars how you were able to get motivated by the other people, the other teams who were also building while you were building your stuff. But you also told me that mentorship is one of the big reasons why you joined the program. Yeah. Can you describe that? Can you describe how, maybe a single example of how somebody mentored you and what kind of difference it made in the business?
A single one may be harder. I can tell you kind of how it works. What they'll do is that you have the mentors that are always there, like David. But then they'll bring in people to give a talk, but when they're there, they're basically willing to meet with the teams during the day for 1 or 2 days. So you actually get one-on-one time with these mentors as well. And I thought that was really cool because you can develop a relationship, and and then they can give you specific feedback that can help you. So I actually now one specifically comes to mind, right? So Dave McClure, who actually became an investor through FF Angel. He has this whole Pirates, right? His whole metrics and all that kind of stuff. And when he came and talked to us about metrics, and we were able to drill in, because at that point we had users and we had stuff going on, but we still had our time measuring everything. He was able to, that talk specifically and being able to interact with him on that really kind of helped us, right? And I think, let's see, another example. Matt Mullenweg, who is an investor, he helped a lot, helping us believe that we could do a lot of this stuff remote. And what actually happened after TechStars is we split up, and now we have a completely remote team. There's 5 of us, and none of us are in the same place. And I think some of the guidance there that it could work helped. So I mean, there's lots of examples you can give, but I think the cool thing was I think it's accelerated networking. I would have never been able to meet these people, especially from Alabama. And if I did, it would take me 10 years. And so just this 3-month accelerated, being able to reach out to all these people made a huge difference. And it just opened up so many doors. If you needed to talk to someone at Google or, Microsoft, whatever, you could get in through these connections, and it just made a world of difference.
Right, let's break down this a little bit and get more information. Dave McClure, he is the guy who's known for having been at PayPal. Now he's an investor with Founders Fund. He comes in and he gives you essentially the same talk that he gives at a lot of conferences, which is, I forget what it's called. It's like the Pirate Importance of Metrics. So he gives you this talk, but unlike people who go to the conferences, you get to spend time with him and say, how does this talk, the ideas that you just gave us, apply directly to our business? And he helps you apply that. How? What kind of metrics guidance did he give you? How is your metrics thinking shaped by that conversation with him?
So, I mean, we did some whiteboarding. I think just being able to interact, and to be honest, that I know he's done that a lot, but that was the first time that we'd heard a lot of that kind of talk before. So it was that early exposure. So there's whiteboarding, and with him was just over a long period of time. Lots of these metrics type discussions were important because it became important because these are the things we were starting to show when we wanted to get investors that understood the business, right? They wanted to see these kind of metrics discussions and not market pie in the sky. And this, they know the difference between a registered user and an active user and how active the user is. And so like all that kind of prepared us for those type of scenarios because we started being able to track that information.
What kind of metrics did you guys keep track of? There's so many things that you can keep up with in your space, especially since you're giving people a way to measure their own fitness and their nutrition, and you've got, of course, the business things that you can measure, how many registrations you're getting, the conversions. What was important out of all those?
Check a lot. I think that, for me, most days I'm checking user growth and pro conversions to our paid subscription model, and we do lifetime value, average value of a transaction that are really important to us, how those change over time. And I think what Dave helped us do too is do more cohort analysis instead of tracking just like the high level trends. It doesn't really tell you what the business is doing, but if you start tracking what cohorts do, you can see and you can make changes that you can actually change the shape of the. So we have these graphs where we show like how long a user stays active, right? And so you want to keep that the curve. You want to work on the shape of the curve, but also keep the area under the curve, meaning how long they stay active, the long tail. You need to watch that. So you can do that from different cohort snapshots, right? We never would have done that before.
What do you mean by different cohort snapshots?
So,
What's cohort analysis?
Yeah, so it's basically you want to take, instead of looking at, instead of looking at what my overall pro conversion rate is, it's better to say, okay, here's a group of users that joined during this week or this month, and compare that user group to another user group at a different time. So instead of keeping this running tally that just kind of shows overall, it's not very useful. You want to compare different cohorts. So for us, that's users who joined at a certain time period. Typically, we look at that on a month or week basis. So then I can say, how good am I at converting people in January of 08 to 09? And then we can judge whether or not we're doing good as a business.
Okay. I think I might need to do a whole program just on this to explain it, but I think maybe the best way to explain it is to show where it fails. Where we hear that 50% of all marriages end up in divorce, that number I think comes from somebody saying, let's take all the divorces and divide it by all the weddings that happen in that year. Even if there's no correlation between the people who got married and the people who got divorced in that year, that's how they're going to do the analysis, and it ends up giving you bad data. Yeah. But Tobin in my audience, who's becoming one of my favorite audience members here, has given us two links, one to avc.com, a blog post there on the cohort analysis. I think you guys are going to have to search it. Another one on Wikipedia, he says, got a good article on it. And he also, this is why he's becoming one of my favorite people, he's jumping in there with everything, saying that Dave McClure's talk is AARR. AARRR, metrics for pirates, R, which means activation, acquisition, retention, referral, revenue. We're going to have him on and have him explain all that. Let's talk about Matt Mullenweg with what he told you about working remotely. How can you work remotely when you've got a funded company that's growing fast and that changes so quickly? What did you learn?
You certainly get a lot of, there's a lot of people who don't believe that you can do it. And so you get a lot of naysayers, actually. Especially when we were raising money, there's a certain group who really push for you need to be in one place. And I think there is certainly an advantage to being in one place, especially around kind of company culture. But Stephen and I, we built the company together for 5 months, but then he went to Denver and I was in Alabama, so we were already starting to do the remote thing. And then when we started hiring out after TechStars, we decided we would rather have better people wherever they are than settle for someone where we are. So I moved back to Alabama. We hired 2 developers. One is in upstate New York. One's in Victoria, Canada. And it worked out fine for us. We basically our workflow is we have Campfire open all the time when we're working. We have Skype going, and we jump on and off those we need to. We have a team call every Monday morning. Steven tends to interact with the developers a lot more to keep Skype open, but mostly we are all interacting on Campfire throughout the day. We've also set up PlayStation 3s so we can have the video conference going. You can do 6-way video conferencing and not have it on your machine slowing things down. So that's worked really good. And another thing that we've done, which I think is cool and has helped a lot, is we have on-sites. Instead of off-sites, we'll bring everybody together for a week, hang out, do some fun things, work on a project together, and so we can meet each other and know each other better. We went to keep things cheap. We went to Phoenix in the middle of the summer, and we rented this mansion for next to nothing, but it was really hot, so we stayed inside and worked, so that was cool. And we went to a cabin in Gatlinburg, Tennessee once, and we brought the board, and so we could. It's just kind of like this time where we could all come together. So I think that's kind of things we have done to make the remote thing work, and it's good, right? Because then you can have people who you wouldn't be able to get because they got to be around their family, or for whatever reason they want to stay where they are. And it's worked good for us up until this point.
Why did you why'd you change the name from Jiminy to DailyBurn? How'd you know you needed to?
We, the first signs are when you start getting compared to a children's store, a clothing store.
Ah, Gymboree, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Gymboree. And then, yeah, people couldn't spell it was the big issue, right? And the Jiminy Cricket joke got pretty old. But, basically we couldn't buy a lot of misspellings of Jiminy. And a lot of we'd always thought we never loved Jiminy. We kind of liked it. But we never loved it. It was hard for us to find a domain in the fitness space that we could buy, especially when we had no money, so we just had to buy, pay $10. We didn't have any budget to go buy a domain. So, a lot of the conversation had to do with Tim Ferriss, Garrett Camp, and Dave McClure wanting us to change the name upon investment. Actually, the commitment came to change the name when we were at dinner with Tim, and we were going to split the bill. And he said he would pick it up if we changed the name. So at that point, we were committed to change the name. And so then we went on the search to find the perfect name. So.
Any downside to changing your name?
There's a little bit, right? I mean, so we got people who obviously didn't like it. I think we weren't very forthcoming in it. So one thing that we didn't say is, hey, we're changing our name. People just showed up to our website, and it was a new site. We had formerly Jiminy on there, but we got a lot of emails like, who is this company, and why do they have my credit card information? So I think a lesson learned there is we need to announce that to the public first. But we also didn't really want to, we didn't want to get a lot of user feedback on it because we know some people wouldn't like it, and we thought it was the best move, and we felt good about just making it. And we knew people were going to have backlash, but it was really positive. I mean, overall, I would say 90% positive on the name change, and I absolutely think it was the best move for us. We did a rebranding along with it, so that it took us a long time to change the name. We also waited to release any information on our funding announcement until we had the name change going so that we could get some SEO juice on the new name. So that's another tip, I guess.
That's cool. Who helped you with the rebranding?
The name or just the site design?
The site design, and actually, yeah, let's start with the site design. We'll come back to the name change.
So we worked with an independent developer, a graphic design guy. Steven and I found him. I don't even know how we preferred to work with just kind of a contractor as opposed to some firm. We found someone that we liked, and he kind of helped us with the design. We've always had a good feel for design, I feel like, and so we kind of helped guide that. But yeah, it was just an independent contractor that we contracted out, and so that was actually part of the reason why we raised the friends and family money round. We wanted to pay ourselves a little bit, but the other money was to pay graphic design because we like good design. We know how important it is, but we had reached the limits of what we could do in Photoshop and things. So at some point,
what did it
cost you? Good question. I mean, it wasn't. I don't remember. Maybe we paid $50 an hour. Maybe less. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but it was probably for the whole site design, less than $10,000, I think.
Okay. To get the design and to get the new brand, the new look, and the new feel for what the company was about.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And then the new name. How'd you guys come up with that?
So that was really, really hard. His names are pretty. I said I would quit the company if one of the names they wanted would come. I'm not going to say what it is, but I think
Why not? You could say that.
Yeah, I guess I can say it. So
yeah.
very, very good, convincing. So Jim Tripp was one of the names that I thought was really terrible, but everybody knew I thought it was terrible, so that's okay. And I think we still have that domain. But we basically went through this week-long process of trying to find every domain that we could think of, and we're trying to find one we didn't have to buy. We came up with a list of 5. And it was pretty cool. So this is when we really engaged our advisors a lot. So Dave, Garrett, and Tim were all very involved in the name change, and we were all on conference call trying to figure out the best ones. I can't remember some of the other ones that we owned, but DailyBurn we ended up getting for pretty cheap, and we thought that was my favorite, so I was glad that we got it.
Where'd you guys get that? Where'd you buy the name?
So we used basically a PR firm to disguise who we were when trying to get the name. So I think Tim Ferriss actually put a blog post out on this whole subject, and we pretty much followed that to a T. We did this before the blog post, but the strategy we took, you don't want to say who you are, and you don't want to have a big firm represent you, because then they think that you're a big brand and you have lots of money to spend. So we used this PR firm that was recommended to us, and they handled interacting with the owner. And there wasn't anything on the site; it was just someone sitting on it. And we ended up they came back and they wanted $2,000 for it, and so I said, okay. You could have probably negotiated it down, but at that point, that was the name I wanted, and so we just grabbed it. So I feel like that was a good buy. We liked it. DailyBurn, burning calories has that connotation. Also like muscle burn when you work out. We had that. So we really like the daily indication. It's a daily process. It's not a quick fix. So we really like the name, and I think it was great. Great move.
Okay, and the Garrett who you keep talking about is Garrett Kemp, the founder of StumbleUpon, who I'm going to hit you up for an introduction to. I'd love to interview him here on Mixergy.
Yeah.
Love to just meet him.
Cool.
Throughout, it seems like Tim Ferriss, Garrett, and the other advisors were really helpful. I remember seeing Tim Ferriss doing a blog post on how changing the layout of your landing page increased conversions. So I reread that in preparation for this interview, and then I went back and I checked out DailyBurn.com, and a lot of the changes that he talked about seemed to have been gone. Like he said, when you remove the number of links that were available to people who landed on your website, conversions increased. I went back to the site, and a lot of options, a lot of hyperlinks were put back on. Why? Why didn't you keep up with what he said?
So we did take a lot of what we learned throughout that process, and I think apply it to the new homepage. Someone's trying to call in. It's a good question. I mean, we still track it. We still done A/B testing on our current homepage, and it's converting as good as that Jiminy page was. I think we took away a lot of the moving elements, so we still like one of the big things that helped in the conversion of the Jiminy page was we had this stuff that was scrolling down the bottom with like people, activity streams, and we wanted to have this impression that we were really, really big and we had all these users because this is a happening place to join. And when we took that off, it did increase conversions quite a bit. There's less distraction, and I think that drew their eyes down away from the sign up button. I think we did keep a lot of the design, and Tim was also involved in helping with the DailyBurn copy and stuff that was on the homepage. So I think we learned a lot from it, and a lot of it was incorporated into our new design.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some things. I mean, we need the links for the link juice too. I mean, that's kind of why we have some of those links on there, like to workout programs and things.
I see. Okay. All right. Let's see what else I want to talk about. Do for us a little bit of what Tim Ferriss did for you. Teach us what you learned about creating that premium program and getting people to register.
What we learned about getting people to register. So Tim was when we work with Tim, it was more on that homepage stuff. So a lot of the stuff internal page we've talked about a lot, but I think Tim's biggest help for us was on that homepage stuff and just kind of social media buzz. He helped us a lot when we came out with Food Scanner. He was really, I think, instrumental in helping us get a lot of buzz and get a lot of pickup on that launch. So I think that those are some of the things. I mean, there's lots of things behind the scenes that he's done that I don't really feel comfortable sharing without talking to him. But I think, yeah, good advisor.
Right. I'll have to ask you about that in private. But buzz I can see is huge. Right? When you've got a guy like Tim Ferriss talk about you, he's going to get other people to talk about what he just said about you, which helps create a lot of buzz. But what are some of the big lessons that other people can take away and apply on their own without him? Constant testing seems to be a big one.
Yeah, testing is important. I think making sure you're tracking a lot of things. It's really hard to add in the tracking tools, and it takes a lot of time. And I think it's really important. Everything from so you understand the business, but even to when you get to a point where you're trying to raise money, the ability to show all these different things very accurately helps a ton, and it shows that you understand the business well. And so I think that's a lesson learned. I found a lot of when I reach out to people, and I think in the entrepreneurial community, people will help, and I think not doing it alone is another important thing. We really had a great experience interacting with other entrepreneurs and people that would help in engaging them. It's really important to engage other people, and so yeah, if you don't have we didn't know Tim Ferriss before this thing started, and the way we got in touch with him was we went to TechStars, and Matt Mullenweg is friends with him, and made that connection. And before that, we worked really hard to get into TechStars. So there's lots of steps that you take to get to the point where you can interact with people that can help you, but you gotta do all the steps, right? I mean, you gotta build the product that works. You gotta be aggressive enough, but not overly aggressive, but aggressive enough to go help find people who can help you, and just keep following up and keep working the chain, I guess.
He's a guy who's got a lot of calls on his time, and at the same time, he doesn't want to be that engaged. He wants to have things automated, and you got a lot of his time. How can you get the most out of an advisor? How do you get the most time out of an advisor?
With Tim, he's an investor. So yeah, when you get an investor, someone put their money up, then they're a little bit more likely to spend some time.
Still, I've talked to two different companies who had backing from the same person. One of them was complaining that he wasn't engaged enough. The other one said he is the most helpful person in my life. And I think a lot of it comes down to how engaged they were with that investor. What do you do to get the most out of someone like Tim Ferriss?
Oh, you got to with Tim, you got to, let's see, how can I put this? He's a big, he thrives off of the attention, the exposure, and all that kind of stuff. So I think with him, it's really important to honor that, right? And know that this is important, and so you have to present him in a good light, and help him do what he does. And so I think that's really important. And I think to learn to interact with people, you just have to, everybody's different, and you have to engage them differently. But I found like, for the most part, when people, our advisors and our investors are more than willing to do it, it was more on me how much I really tried to engage them.
That's what I've heard too. And when you say that with Tim Ferriss, he's able to shine the spotlight on him because someone else gave him the light to shine. You're saying that you need to give him reasons to grow his light. You need to give him data that he can blog about and teach other people. You need to give him access to the scanner on the iPhone so that he can show other people and be one of the first people to use it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think that's important, right? So like, he's willing to give his time and help. But let's throw him a bone too, right? Like, we gave him the exclusive launch on Food Scanner, and because of that, we were able to get on all the other tech blogs that we wanted to, because we were going to try to go, give an exclusive to TechCrunch or something, which would have been terrible, because actually TechCrunch traffic doesn't do that much for you from a product standpoint. It's more important to get on like a Life Hacker or Tim Ferriss' site, or some site where people are going to get advice on what they need to be doing, as opposed to just, here's an announcement about a startup, right? But yeah, so I think it's important to give back and help them in some ways too.
All right. Here's a challenge. It seems like a challenge. I looked up some of your investors on your own site. And I won't embarrass them all, but I'm going to embarrass Andrew Hyde, because I think he's a good guy who won't be embarrassed easily. And say that I'm seeing his activity. The last two activities on his page, one was from 8 days ago, the other is from 4 months ago. And he's actually one of the more engaged people. Actually, is Andrew Hyde an investor in the business?
No.
Good, then I'll embarrass him especially. But I saw with others that it would be 2 months, 4 months since their last activity. That's a big issue, isn't it? That people get all psyched up about the gym January 1st and they forget about it by March, and it's been and then they go months without re-engaging. And if that's true for a gym, which they paid for, it must be true too for a website, which is free often.
Yeah. Well, so I got a lot of comments on this. I mean, first of all, Andrew Hyde specifically is an endurance athlete, and so he, being part of TechStars, certainly would help and come in and look at our site design and help us in different ways, but it's not designed for him. He does triathlon and CrossFit now, and that's not, we're designed for a person trying to lose weight, to be in the gym, and so it's irrelevant, right? I think in general, though, there is a high percentage of our users that are going to come in and join and get excited about DailyBurn, and they're going to fall off. I mean, it's just the nature of, number one, we're a free web app, and people like to go in and sign up, and they're, maybe not come back. And then they're people, we're Americans, and people are lazy, and they'll say, I'm going to do it this week, and then I'm going to fall off a week later. So you will see in our growth that there is some drop off, and we know that. We expect it, and so now we design for it. We want to try to convert people to our premium subscriptions in the first 24 hours, because it's not like we want to keep them long, and then upgrade them. We want to upgrade them right away, because it's the whole infomercial mentality, right? It's why infomercials work. That's why P90X works. You're at 2 a.m. you're eating Cheetos in your underwear, and dude, I need to get in shape, and I'll pull out my credit card and spend $200 on P90X, right? So it's that same. There is some of that same dynamic in what we have. We as much as possible, we provide tools that makes it easier for you, and try to make it as sticky as possible. But when it comes down to it, a fitness is going to be a personal decision, and there's only so much that we can do. So that there is going to be some drop off for sure. Now, what we do find is the people who do engage, man, they engage hard, and they're tracking their food all the time, and so that'll be a lower percentage, and you wouldn't see that from some of our advisors who this is not their interest, right?
Do you have a good technique for re-engaging people when they fall off or when they're about to?
We don't really. That's something we're going to be working on over the next couple months. We spent, basically with a small team and resources, we wanted to spend the resources where we had the most bang for our buck. So we wanted to work on that front end stuff, because that's where we're seeing the most conversions. So we do email campaigns to get people back. I also think that we're going to see a lot of activity. Like, what I expect it to be the case is, someone has a good interaction with DailyBurn, they fall off the wagon for sure, but maybe 6 months later, I need to get in shape, then I'll go to DailyBurn. Especially you see that behavior around January 1 when people get excited about their health goals again. So I think there's a lot of things we can do for re-engagement, like emails and things, but we haven't had time to do that. And I think now we're going to finally have the resources to be able to work on those things, which we're pretty excited about.
Why did you sell the business?
So we didn't sell the whole business. We sold. If you look at, we didn't release the details, but it's a majority stake. So we didn't really see it as a complete sale. We saw it as a strategic investor. And for us, we were out raising money. We were very. We had a number of term sheets. We're doing pretty good. We had the ability to raise the money. And with this deal, we just felt that some of the talent that they already had in their team, we were going to hire anyway. And to do this, we felt like it was a win for our early investors, for us, for everybody. So it just seemed like the best fit, given the options that we had. So we worked really hard to have a number of different options on the table. And I was really excited the fact that, we had the ability to raise just from straight angels again. We had a couple of VCs that were ready to do it, and then we had this deal, and we could sit as a board and say, okay, what makes the best sense for us, and then pull the trigger and make it happen.
What share of the business did they take?
We don't disclose them.
Is it more than 50%?
Yeah, it's majority owner.
Okay, all right. And actually, this is, I think, something that Josh, the founder of College Humor, said. That when he sold to IAC, he had a similar deal where they didn't buy the whole thing, but they bought a majority investment, I think.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
Smart deal.
I'm going to leave it there on the questions on the sale. I feel like at this point, there's no way to get anything but BS answers beyond this. If I dive into why'd you do this versus something else, you can't really be open right now. You're still going through the deal. You've got to be private. And if I dive into whether it's a right decision or a wrong decision, it's too early to tell. Who knows? Yeah. We'll know 5, 10 years from now for sure.
Right. We'll
All
talk
right.
about it
So,
in 5 years.
sorry.
We'll talk about it in 5 years.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's just fill in the gaps here on a couple of questions that I didn't get to come back to. A couple of people in the audience asked, did you start the website because you saw a market opportunity? Did you start because it was your own itch you were trying to scratch? What kind of market research did you do? So I'll combine it all into this one question. How did you know that there was an opportunity here?
It was really gut. I mean, we did a lot of searching to see if we could find a site like us. We couldn't, so we felt like there wasn't one, and we went for it. I mean, I don't have any lies about it. We did all this extensive research, and so we wanted to build it, and we couldn't find anybody doing it, so we pulled the trigger and went. As easy as that.
Earlier, you said that you had a feedback box on the homepage when you first launched it. What was
Yeah.
that like? What exactly did that look like?
It was just a big, ugly green box at the bottom of the page with a text area that said, "Tell us your comments," and a send button, and that was it. And it sent us an email, and so from the very beginning, we were getting comments from people, and we eventually turned it off because the volume got too high. And after a while, we also were really responsive. And when we got an email, we would respond back. And you can only do that up to a certain point, I feel like, until it just. But it's really important to do at the very beginning, because as your first power users, and those are the ones who tell others about you and things. So,
So
yeah,
you collected their email address and you had a box for them to give you their message. Those two fields.
yeah. They were already a logged in user, so it was
So you
basically
had their
feedback
email.
from users trying it out.
Oh, that's a great idea. All right, I think that's everything that I've got. Anything that you want to add before we end it?
I don't think so. I think pretty much covers it.
Damn great ride over the last 3 years, don't you think?
Say it again.
It's been a hell of a ride over the last
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
years.
I mean, it's been fun, and I gotta say, coming out of the security business, it's a lot more fun. I mean, we get these emails of people losing a ton of weight, like over 100 pounds, and that's really rewarding. In working on a site that has users, it's super super rewarding, and it's been a real fun ride. And I'm really excited now that we have resources to do a lot of stuff that we've been wanting to do. And you get to this point where you're like, yeah, people are screaming for an Android app, they want an iPad app, they want this and that. And yeah, we want to give it to you because we think we can do really cool stuff. And now we're going to be able to do it. So I think, just moving forward, I'm even more excited about it. It's going to be even better next couple of years.
All right, so usually I have guys on here who are like 22 years old, who just built something and sold it, and everyone in the audience says, "Well, they have it easy. What are they going to lose if they lose everything? They don't really have that much." Here you are, one of the few guys who started a company with nothing but a family. What do you say to somebody else who's in your position?
So I think it's really important to know your spouse. Like I don't think it would have worked if I tried to do it and I was constantly being questioned. So I think that's really important for someone who has a family that's about to embark on this. I think it would probably be wise to have more money than I did starting out, but it's almost like you have to do it. You're so miserable working for this other company that you got to do it. And if your spouse knows you and knows you have to do it, then hopefully they will support you. I've definitely been blessed that way. But I also say you need to still spend time with the kids. Don't neglect them. And I mean that's just a recipe for disaster long term. So. I think those things are important too, and people think it's crazy to start a business with young kids, but you can do it if you can't do a lot else. I mean, you can do your business and your family, but that's about it. But I think my thing has always been to go after it all the way and quit the other job and do it and risk it. Maybe that's why I'm an entrepreneur and have that risk tolerance level. I don't know. Some people think that's crazy, but it's just how it works. So.
I asked Jason Calacanis, I think a few weeks before I got married, or maybe a couple of days afterwards. I said, Jason, you work nonstop, and you're still married. Somehow your wife is about to give you a child. She was pregnant at the time. How are you able to do it without pissing her off and having her tell you to just shove it? And he said, Andrew, here's the secret. Give her big dates. Big marquee dates that she can talk to her friends about. So if you can't spend all the time with her, you might want to spend might want to have a picnic up in the mountains with special things involved so that she can go talk to her friends about it and she could be happy with it. Do you have any advice like that? You've been married a lot longer than I have.
I mean, I think it's non-neglect is really important.
What's really important?
For just not neglecting the needs, and being a bootstrap entrepreneur, I didn't have the budget to do extravagant dates or anything like that. But I think it's just keeping the communication going and still being the family man and not letting work totally rule your life. Even though it does a lot of times as an entrepreneur, you have to keep it in perspective, and you can't, one of the things they tell you at TechStars is, you're there for 3 months, and it's like so intense, and you're working all the time. But that level of work you cannot sustain for multiple years. You have to, at this point in what I'm doing, I work hard, but I don't work a lot on the weekends, and I take time. You cannot continue to do that forever, because you'll just burn out. So I think it's okay to do short bursts, and as long as and I think this is important, because I think when Lauren knows that I'm going to do a short burst, I'm going to be out of town for a couple weeks, and it's going to be hard, but then she knows I'm going to not do that for a while. And so just having that comfort, I think, is important. So there you go. There's my psychological advice.
Cool. No, I'll take it wherever I can. I'd much rather have it from you than have it from one of these marital advice guys. Before I got married, I said, Olivia, I'm going to be prepared for this. I'm going to listen to books on tape from guys who are going to teach me how to do this. All these guys, they were just so freaking out of touch with my life. They had these ideas that I don't know, these wimpy, let me give you a hug ideas. Like, come on. You don't understand you don't understand my situation. Another entrepreneur does.
I don't think they do. We only went to counseling a little bit, but I think that was when we fought the most, was because these counselors telling us what to do, and I think we just got to do it on our own. So I don't know how.
That's another thing. When I started dating, I said, I'm going to get somebody to give me advice. I went to a counselor. The woman was so out of touch with what I wanted. She kept pushing me into relationships. I said, no, I'm not ready for relationships yet. We can come back later. All right, so finally, I'm going to say something here. I'm going to say thank you to David Cohen, who introduced me to you. David Cohen, the guy behind TechStars, has been tremendously helpful to me. I'm going to thank him publicly here, not just for this introduction, but for everything else, all encapsulated in this one situation where I said, David, I got to talk to Andy. Can you introduce me so I can interview him? Boom, he made it happen. David, thank you. Andy Smith, thank you very much for coming here and doing this interview. Congratulations on the sale. To everyone else who's listening here, do what Andy did. Go out there, get advice from the people who I'm interviewing here through these interviews, or go out and connect with them one-on-one. Go build a phenomenal company, and then come back and do what Andy just did. Right now, he's returning the favor. He doesn't need to talk to my audience here, to spend an hour and, an hour and a half. But you return it. It's a circle of entrepreneurship. You get a lot of help early on, then you come back and you do an interview like Andy did and help other people. And if you were helped by Andy, let him know at a conference, on Twitter, wherever. Thank you, Tobin, for letting him know. Thank you, Dano, Ron, Ware. Thank you very much. Andy, again, thank you for doing the interview.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the comments.